All right. Welcome to Hit or Miss. Uh,
I can sing the beginning to Let It Go if you like.
no, no.
The snow falls white on a
Let
mountain
it
high.
Okay,
go.
let
You are
it
now
Let
go.
it
tuned into the
go.
smooth,
A
sexy
tune of
musical
life
stylings of
to
Foods and
make.
Nathan's Armory.
Well,
I'm the
they're filling in for Speggy. Thanks, guys. I think I'm ready to do the show now. I'm not quite sure, but we're gonna roll with it.
can we stop it and then restart it now?
No, we cannot. It is forever in stone now.
We should have practiced this.
wait, we did.
This is what
I
happens.
just
when you don't have a
MC.
plan.
You guys have to do the musical.
Oh no. All right. Tonight, some of you, if anyone is going to listen or is listening, we're doing a reloading chat. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about reloading. If you have any questions about reloading, we got some people in here that do a lot of reloading, so they can answer some of your questions. Just like Focus on Gun Channels, or just in the Hit or Miss lobby chat, and we'll try and answer those questions for you. What else am I missing? I got to introduce my panelists. That's what.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tonight I'm joined by Foos.
Hey, I'm I guess, one of the resident reloaders, and I just try to blow shit up. Not the gun, though.
No, we won't want to blow the gun up.
Again, I've done it once.
Well, let's hope you're not like Iraq veteran 88 and you're going to ruin an Arasaka rifle.
No.
I got so angry when he did that, just because the fact is, so many people have just abused them and ruined them, and now they're getting sparse.
Yeah, but he at least did one with the chrysanthemum all striked out, so it was already a shamed rifle.
Yeah. Anyways, Heavy B, what's going on?
Not much. Just coming to do the show with you since you so graciously invited me. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Always happy to have you here. All right, and then we're joined by Nathan's Armory.
Hey everybody, just living the dream, man, living the dream. Got a new inside the waistband holster out. So for some of you who've looked at my website and are like, no, I don't want an outside the waistband holster, I have the inside the waistband now.
Wait, you make holsters?
Yeah.
Sheepdog leather.
Just messing with you.
Yeah, Nathan makes leather holsters, sheepdogleather.com, in case anyone wants to buy a holster.
Yeah, at this point I just make them for myself and they pile up. Once I get to about waist high, I think I'll just go drop them off in a pawn shop.
And hopefully we're going to teach you how to make these, not do that.
What is...
Oh, wow.
Crunched one.
All right, now we got some more people to introduce, so hold on. All right. Sean, what's going on?
Good evening, everybody. Not only am I your international spy, but I'm your superior Russian, but I'm also your big bore reloader.
Good. Now we got somebody else in here then. All right, Wendy, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going? And I haven't bought center fire rifle ammo in 4 or 5 years. I load everything I shoot.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
All right, so during the chat we're gonna go and talk to you guys, and you guys are gonna tell us what calibers you reload in.
I'm gonna do it right now.
What your favorite calibers to reload in are, and just go through go from there. Okay. If anyone on the panel has any questions that don't reload,
Send them in.
please just ask them here on the chat, because it's easier that way.
Maybe we should start with covering what pistol cartridges we reload and then move on to rifle cartridges.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the order.
Tonight we're all going to be your personal Eugenes. We're going to make the bullets, and we're going to answer your questions on how to do it procedurally and properly.
Well, I don't know if it's procedurally or properly, because
Eugene does everything procedurally and properly. He pisses by the numbers.
He bites a mouthful of pecker by the first.
Oh God, I was hoping no one would bring that up.
Oh shit.
All right. Let's not talk about The Walking Dead. I was kind of pissed off from Sunday. No.
I'm going
All
to
right.
reload 357 Magnum tonight during this chat, so that is one caliber. If you have any questions to talk about, feel free to send the questions in.
In honor of Sheriff Rick Grimes.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Foos, tell us about reloading.
I first started reloading 2011. Basically, whenever I bought my first 1911, I'm like, I want to shoot the hell out of this, and I don't want to spend full prices, buy ammo at full price. So I'm like, I can do this cheaper. And then I blew up my first 45 case because I was an idiot and double charged it. 10 grains of Win 231. It's a little excessive.
Hot.
A little bit hot. And then I went from there to 9mm. I still reload for a friend of mine and 45. I shoot 9mm, 38 Super, and I also reload 40 for another friend of mine. That's my pistol. And I also used to reload 380 for an ex-girlfriend of mine as well. Mm-hmm.
That is a noble cause.
Using a 100-grain round nose.
By the way, quick note, when the relationship went sour, she has a whole lot of ammunition that has sand instead of gunpowder in it.
That's harsh.
Don't buy any sand from her. All right. Those are your pistol calibers, right?
Yes, those are my pistol.
Okay.
My rifle is 223. I do have dies for 308. I haven't started loading that yet because I need to get a chassis system and get a little bit better on my 308 before I start to dial in rounds on it.
Sure.
I load 22-250 for a friend of mine, and we're running 36 grains of Ramtac behind a 40-grain nozzler out of a 26-inch barrel, and we chronoed it at 3,700 feet per second.
Nice.
And it likes that. It also likes 4,200 feet per second, but we don't want to burn the freaking barrel.
That is screaming.
Yeah. Whenever we did the ladder load, and it was still within pressure tolerances, but out of a 26-inch barrel, we were spitting flame about 5 or 6 inches out the end of it, so we decided to back it off. So you can make up some hot loads.
Yeah.
I do have 8mm dies, and I have not started doing that because I need to get better at shooting my Mauser before I start reloading.
Okay. What's I want to ask? How did you start getting into reloading? What did you do in order to get into reloading?
The first thing I did was buy a gun, start shooting.
Well, besides the gun, I meant the actual equipment. Did you go?
Oh,
you find a resource somewhere, or?
A buddy of mine was reloading at work, and I'm like, okay, what do you have? And he's like, well, I have a Dillon 650. So I started looking into that. I'm like, well, I'm not comfortable with doing a full progressive.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, but I didn't want to go straight to a single press because I was going to be way too slow.
You started on a turret?
Yes.
Okay.
Lee turret press is what I started on. The reason I started on it is you could have it in single mode to learn on, and I probably did the first 200 to 300 rounds until I was comfortable with every process. And then I went ahead and put the auto index in and started cranking them out.
That Lee turret's one of the best presses for the money, in my opinion.
Absolutely. It's fairly accurate, especially for pistols. Everything's pretty accurate. You really can't go to an extremely fine grain powder because of the powder measure, but that doesn't mean you have to use a Lee powder measure.
You've got that Lee Perfect powder measure that came with it?
I was using the auto disc.
Oh, okay, yeah, you have to use a different disc
Yeah.
for that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
Can I interject?
One thing real quick. What I was doing is I was using an 800X, High Stoker 800X, which is a very slow burning, very big flat powder,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually metered extremely well in that, so I didn't have issues.
Nice.
I was just going to state that I started out with a Lee 4 quad spinning press, and if I had to do it all over again, because I typically like to load for more precision for rifle, I would have started out with a single stage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. If on my rifle, not on my rifle, but my 7.62 54R, whenever I do my 308, or if I ever get into 7.5 Swiss, whenever I get into 8mm, all that will be on my rock choker.
Oh, you will.
Yeah. It'll be on
You
my
will,
rock
like you
choker.
just sell me that rifle.
There's ways to go with things is from my observations is you go with the factory stuff, but not the factory, was it the bullet factory or whatever, but where you spend a whole lot of money for a machine that will do 4 rounds at a time, it'll a progressive that'll do 4 rounds at a time.
Sure.
Or I would go with a single stage press. I'd go with one extreme or the other, because when you're doing the quad lead press, you're only doing 1 bullet at a time.
You're still
And
hybriding the situation.
Speed things up. Because what you do is you call your tape and you run it through the same die.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is you could still, you don't have to do them in bulk. You don't have to, deprime 100 or 50 cases or 100 cases, and then prime 100 cases, and then do powder in every case. And you could actually take and do all of the steps with 1 round at a time, and it actually speeds it up. Whenever I was doing about 300 an hour.
Oh, you're going to love how I started then. See, I'm currently, right now, as we speak, I'm doing the resizing, belling, and priming on my 357 Magnum cases on my original Lee Classic single-stage press, because the way I learned this was I started off by watching a lot of videos by Jiu-Jitsu 2000 and Fortune Cookie 45LC. They do a lot of single-stage work, and I was enamored with their meticulousness of the process. So when it came time for me to buy my first reloading kit, it was because 44 Magnum is quite expensive in factory loadings, and I realized how cheap I could do it if I did it on my own. So I bought the Lee Classic Turret Press Kit, where it came with pretty much everything you need except a digital scale. I bought the digital scale the day I bought the kit, and I did it the old-fashioned way. I bought the scoop, or I did it with the scoop, and I deprimed, recapped, resized everything by hand, one at a time. I would literally spend 1 day decapping, resizing everything the first day, and then after work the second day, I would go ahead and powder charge and make the bullets. I would probably do about 100 to 300 a day. But these little Lees, for what you get out of it, you spend about, $200, and you get literally everything you need except a reloading guidebook and a digital scale. You can balance scale, but the digital will save you a lot of headache.
Agreed. Take the balance scale, toss it, get yourself a good, decent digital. Mm-hmm. They're $30-$40, maybe $40 range. Whenever I got my Lee turret, it came in a bundle, just like what Sean was saying, and it actually came with a book as well.
Oh, you had the actual load guide book too.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yes.
Okay. Here's a question. Wait. I've got a question for you guys. Mm-hmm. I've been looking possibly even just getting like the really small hand presses.
The little one-handers?
Yeah, the one-handers just for simple stuff. For simple like 9mm is what I was thinking about using it for.
Honestly,
I think
for the repetition and the physical exertion you would have to use to squeeze that thing over and over and over, you'd be better off getting like one of those Lee presses like I've got, where the little hand thing, it's great if you're at the range.
Yes.
And you need to like if you're one of those railgun guys where you have to make it on the spot, that's fine for that. But if you have to do anything in bulk, you don't want that. Your hand would cry.
Agreed. I was about to say, these rail guys, they want everything absolutely the same, so they will sit there on the firing line and reload the same cartridge for every round that they shoot.
Yeah.
So like this one cartridge, they would shoot it all freaking day.
Hold on, I wasn't done with my question, so just bear with me here for like one more second. Now, what I was going to ask is, are there any brands or manufacturers that we should watch out for that have subpar quality reloading material?
Not that I know of.
Manufacturers that make the equipment, or powders or bullets not to buy.
Well, let's start with equipment.
Yeah.
I have known people that use the Lee 1000 or 2000, their auto press. They're replacing parts like crazy because they use some plastic parts to help keep the cost down. Go with a Hornady, go with a Dillon, RCBS, something like that. If you really want to go expensive, there is not Lyman, but there's some other ones that are even higher than that. I mean, Dillon's pretty much a gold standard. But
the Elite Classics are still all steel.
Yes, but I'm talking about progressive. When you get that way, I'm talking about full progressive. I would try to stay away from the Lee 1000 just because of the plastic parts. Yeah,
and if you're gonna go progressive and you're gonna like mass produce bullets and you're all in for that process, you might as well just go ahead and go for the Dillon. You've got nothing to lose. Yeah. You're looking at like a Jeremy Clarkson position where he's gonna be like, you know what, work harder, wait an extra 2 weeks, and spend the extra $150 and just go for like a Dillon 650 or something.
Yeah. The Hornady is a real good press too. I've seen that in action, and I was impressed with that. So
that's what I have. I have a Hornady, and the reason I went Hornady instead of Dillon was the ease of use to switch calibers. Because I do load, like I'll sit there and whenever I loaded a 40 for my friend, I loaded 9mm, and within 5 minutes I was loading 40 on the same press.
Well,
whereas
the beauty,
on Dillon, it takes longer.
The beauty of the Hornady, right, where you can swap it out and get extra plates, and you can preset everything.
Right, but you still have the base plate and everything that you have to swap out.
Mm-hmm.
I use a lock and load where I just drop it in, half twist.
Yeah, that's what I've got. It's got a little pin.
Now, you can put those lock and load bushings on a single stage, can't you? You could essentially get a cheaper kind of a turret setup, but at a cheaper price if you were looking to do that.
Lock and load does have that same bushing on a single turret. Lee also has that setup. RCBS does not. You actually have to thread it in there, but RCBS also takes and has their locking ring that actually has a screw that goes into the side of the die so that doesn't mess up. So you know that every time you put that down, you're good.
Yeah, that's what I use. I have an RCBS turret with RCBS dies, and that works pretty good for me. So.
Good.
All right, host, ask the next question.
Well, single stage press, Lee does make a C style press.
Yep.
It will work, but if you have a C
it's a copy
here,
of the partner press.
right, but if you have a C here and you're putting pressure right here on the ends, it's going to be fairly easy to open up, and it does open up.
Torque out.
Right, so your precision won't be perfect, but if you have an O shape or D shape or something like that, it has that extra metal on there to make sure it is your accuracy is good.
Straight on. Yeah, the Lee Classic that I'm running right now is what you would call an O style or a D style. It does not move. It's the first press I bought. Now, when I started processing brand new brass, when I went to like say 45 Colt, 454 Casull, and 500 Magnum, this Lee struggles because there's just not enough torque on it. So that's when I went and bought an RCBS Rockchucker 4. That's overkill for 357 Magnum, which is why I'm on my Lee right now.
Yeah, and I actually swage 223 projectiles. I make my own projectiles, and I use my RCBS. And people are like, "You use that?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" I mean, I put a lot of pressure through it, and it's awesome. I love my
it's got enough
projector.
weight and throw to handle the job.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about material.
Okay.
Bullets, powder, or primers? What do you want to start with?
Whichever you guys feel like.
Well,
All right.
you want to start at the base and go forward?
Start at primers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Federal is your softest.
Mm-hmm.
Wolf is your hardest.
They're harder than CCIs.
Yes.
I've been running CCIs for probably 2 years. They seem to be like the best all-arounder, for me at least.
I agree with that.
I run CCI exclusive. I've never had a light stone. I've never had one that hit it and not go off.
Same.
CCIs are awesome.
The only time I haven't had a CCI go off is when I forgot to tighten the screw in my wheel guns. You know, for the spring, the main spring.
Mm-hmm.
I'd forget to make sure it hadn't backed out, and I would have to double strike it. But other than that, yeah, they've been solid. These CCIs are solid.
So you would
They are
recommend to
solid.
use CCIs exclusively?
Yeah,
Well, it's just what we run. Like, I run them too exclusively.
There are a lot of people in the competitive world that run Federal exclusively because they've tuned their guns to have such light hammer strikes that if they use a Winchester or Remington or CCI or anything like that, the firing pin is not traveling fast enough to ignite them. Where Federal is so incredibly soft.
Well, no, I'm not talking, match people. I mean, just for the average shooter that wants to get into
Right.
reloading.
But that's something you got to
I ran a lot of Winchester during post Sandy Hook because it was all I could find, and I didn't have any issues with Winchester. If I found it cheaper than CCI, I would buy that today.
It's reliable, absolutely.
Yeah.
So same with was it SMB? I've ran some of those. I've ran some Magtex. It's all good. I mean, during Sandy Hook, I even bought 1,000 of Wolf, and it all ran.
See, I can't get that in my area. The only time I've ever run into a problem with Winchester primers was with my 44 mag, which is large pistol primers. That's the only time I've ever had an issue with Winchesters. But other than that, they've been solid.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys buy primers online, or do you just buy them from the store?
I usually just
Online.
go local.
Well, I buy 5,000-10,000 at a time, so you can't beat online. And I figured out if I buy less than 5,000 locally, I'll buy them locally. But if I want to buy over 5,000, I'll go online, and I'll usually save 10, 15, 20 bucks for 5,000, and especially whenever I put in an order of 20,000, I'm going to
The bulk
destroy.
rate trumps
Right.
the hazmat fee at that point.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go for it,
Wait,
Heavy.
we should explain that.
It's a very, very, very simple question. All right, say a person's just getting into reloading. They shoot handgun, rifle, and shotgun. You recommend getting something that handles all, or do you have to get separate reloaders for like shotgun versus handgun and rifle?
What's your caliber for handgun?
It doesn't matter. Just handgun, rifle, and shotgun.
Well, to reload shotgun primers and rifle primers, you're going to need a bit of torque. But if you're only reloading, say, 9mm handgun, you can get perfectly away with like a Lee Classic. But if you're going to process new brass with a large caliber or a large rifle caliber round, you're going to want a bigger press.
Yeah. I think what Ed was saying is you could reload the rifle and pistol on the same press, Your shotgun, you'll have to have a different press.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That's all I was looking for.
Yeah.
I was just kind of looking around, and you can buy a Lee Challenger press for $70, and that's a really good press for $70.
Where?
So just on Midway right now, $69.99 Lee Challenger.
Yeah. Lee does make some good stuff. Usually people will either have a Lee or a rock chucker for single stages.
Yeah, rock chuckers are awesome.
Yeah. Let's talk about initial costs, because right now what we're doing is we're talking about just the press, and
no,
there's a lot
actually,
of
we were going
factors
through the
involved.
materials. We haven't
Right.
finished that.
And there's a lot of factors involved that a lot of folks don't realize when they start getting into this. You need a good bench. Now,
Yes.
I needed portability because I have very tight space. So what I did is I went to my local IKEA and I bought a butcher block bench, which is only 30 by 30, but it's heavy as hell because it's made out of ash. Now, this works perfectly fine with my Lee, I forgot what they call this, but it's one of those, what do they call it? Bench plate kits, where you have, like this solid steel plate that you bolt to your bench, and then it comes with steel blanks and wooden blanks that you bolt your presses to, then you slide it into the bench plate. It's like $35, and it comes with enough to load 3 or 4 presses if you really wanted to. I loaded 2 presses and a vise to these plates that they came with. But when you get into reloading, you have to think about the press, you have to think about the scale if you don't buy a kit, you have to think about the reloading guidebook, which is an expense. You have to think about the bench if you don't have one, if you need to load one. And then you have to think about the dyes, the powders, the primer, the brass, the bullets, all of these things. Now, we're not trying to deter you from this, because when you start reloading, you have to think of this as an investment. There's an initial layout. You do have to spend a little bit of money, and at first, you're going to take a hit. But when you think about going to the store, like in my case, I went to the store, I bought a box of 20 rounds of 500 Magnum. It was $60 a box for 20 rounds. Now, divide, obviously, $60 by 20, you get your cost per round. Now, I did the initial layout. I already had the press, I already had the powder, I had to go buy the bullets, I already had the primers, and I had to go buy the die set. So the first time I reloaded it, it was a bit pricey. But the second time I reloaded it, I could reload 500 Magnum for 13 cents a round. So 13 times 20, we're talking a couple of bucks. As if I went to the store, I'd have to spend $60 on that 20 rounds. That's where you make your money.
Whenever, go ahead.
I was going to say, you can sit down and you can figure out how much it will cost you through some basic math to load each round once you buy the press.
Sure.
Then take the cost of the press and all the equipment you have to buy, divide and go, okay, if I load 1,000 rounds of, let's say, 45 ACP, I break even on the press.
Right. I broke even on mine because the first round I started reloading was 44 Magnum. I literally broke even on my investment in less than 3 months.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, yeah. Easy.
Like with him, whenever I started loading 45, I mean, I put, in that first year, I put almost 6,000 rounds down my 1911, and within that first year, I was way ahead. And whenever I upgraded to my lock and load, within the first year of owning my lock and load, which I had it for about 2 years now, I broke even. And now, and that's one reason to help me break even is because I actually molded my own bullet. So I was shooting 9mm for 7.5 cents a round whenever you can go to the store and get it for 25 to 30. But now I'm at 10 cents a round, and and that's one thing. Reloading doesn't save you money.
It depends. It depends.
No,
because
you'll
a lot of people say that you don't save money because you end up shooting more.
Mm-hmm.
But
in my case, that's how it is.
Right. Same for me. I think same for everybody who reloads, to be honest. But, I mean, if you've got a guy who's staunch, I'm going to go and fire this 100-round box only every week, yeah, they're going to save some money. But, guys like us, we go to Starline, we buy a box of 500 rounds of brass. We're going to load 500 rounds of brass because, I mean, I can get 38 special down to 3.5 cents a round. I'm going to burn through 500 rounds of brass now.
How do you do that with your projectile?
Okay, so initially I used to go to my local Carter's Country, and I'd buy Hornady FMJs, and that was pricey, granted. And then I went to my local reloader supply, which, being in the fourth largest city in the country, it's pretty beneficial for the fact that I have a lot of stores I can go to. I started getting SNS bullets where they came in boxes of 500. So like the ones I'm loading tonight are SNS 358, 158 grain semi-wad cutters for 38 or 357. I paid $36 for this box for 500. So that's dirt cheap.
Yeah, it is.
They're sized. They've got wax in the lube grooves. They're ready to go. They're not powder coated, but they work because they're low velocity rounds. So I went with that route. And then I went back about 2 months later before I even ran out of these, and they started carrying swamp popper bullets, which I think are made in Louisiana, and those are a powder coated bullet. I got 500 of these for $45. So for 500, divide it out, it gets really cheap really quick.
It does get really cheap.
My big bore stuff, I usually get the swamp poppers, SNS, or I go to Matt's Bullets because he does a lot of specialty rounds, and I love super heavy bullets. So, I load a 535 grain flat nose Ranger Rick bullet for my 500. I think it was 50 round box for $18.
Nathan. Nathan, you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got background noise. What's up?
Well, you reload as well, right?
Yes, I do. So
Okay,
I would like. Go ahead.
Are there any tips or anything you'd like to tell us about reloading or chime in?
I have tons of tips, but I would like to begin by saying we just talked about the cost effectiveness of reloading, dropping the price per round. There is another benefit to reloading, say, rifle cartridges, and that is this. It's if you want to shoot precision rifle, you want to be as accurate as possible with your rifle, reloading is almost a necessity. And here's the reason why.
You're dead on.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the reason why. So when your rifle barrel is pointed downrange and you fire the bullet, as soon as you fire that bullet, there's an explosion. There is a box of chaos in the firing chamber. This subsequently causes shock waves to make your barrel vibrate. And it doesn't vibrate like a tuning fork, it vibrates in a spiral. So if you reload, and you can experiment with, there's a couple different ways to do it, but you can adjust the powder levels, or you can adjust the seating depth, or you can do both, and you can basically experiment, and you can find a bullet that will consistently leave the barrel on the end of vibration, making it a very tight bullet. So I can actually go out and shoot at the range, and I'll shoot a group like this, and then I'll shoot a group like this, and then a group like this, and then it'll grow again as I shoot my different amounts of powder. I can make it shrink and grow, and I can find that finally through experimentation, I've gotten actually pretty good. It usually takes me 2 trips to the range to find a sub 1 inch group.
Now you're talking about chamber harmonics. That is something
We're talking about barrel harmonics.
True,
Barrel
right.
harmonics, yeah.
You're talking about that,
Yeah.
the harmonics of your load to your round to your barrel to your gun.
Right.
This is also something that, see, I started with 2 reloading mentors. Jiu-Jitsu 2000, because he had these extra long videos. I don't mind long videos as long as they're informative. So I would sit there and I'd watch these 2-hour videos of his because I learned a lot. And then I went to Fortune Cookie 45LC because he loaded a lot of calibers that I shoot. And he does exactly what you're describing. He talks about slugging your barrel, making sure you know exactly what diameter bullet you have so you don't go by. Not every 357 round is the same size. Not every 38 round is the same size. Sometimes you have to swage these things to make them fit your barrel. And some barrels, like Tauruses, are notorious for this. They're a little oversized compared to, say, like a Smith & Wesson. So what you might shoot dead on accurate with my Smith & Wesson might be all over the place in your Taurus, and you're going to blame the ammo when you just need to mic your barrel. and then you have to find a round that's already made for the diameter you need, and tune your powder load to it, and then group it. And it may take 2 or 3 trips, but once you get that down, you can make the ultimate round for your gun for that barrel.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of the old timers that I go to. I'm a member of a private gun range that has some people who are ancient. But anyway, some of them will give you the advice that they're like, well, you just go down and you buy a box of bullets and go out and shoot it. Then you buy another box of bullets, and go out and shoot it. And after you buy, go through a certain number of boxes of bullets, you'll find the ones that your gun likes.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're really saying is, you randomly found one that matches your barrel harmonics.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Gives you good results.
And some of those old guys, getting kind of back to loading here, I am sitting here holding a lead cast powder coated projectile. Some of those old guys will shoot pure lead, but they will actually paper wrap them instead of having this coating. And those are super accurate because your lead never touches your barrel. That's something else. That's way advanced.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's not something you want to approach right off.
No, that's way down the road.
That sounds like something you'd have to do by trial and error, then more than anything.
You had a guy who was like his very first time reloading, right? Let's say he went to the store. Let's say he went to like Bass Pro Shops. I think everybody knows what Bass Pro Shops is. So anywhere across the nation, you went into your Bass Pro Shops and you're like, look, I'd like to reload. I have this bench in my garage. It weighs 200 pounds because it's 3 inches thick. I think I can bolt a bench to this. I'd really like to get into this. I've seen some guys on YouTube. I've seen some guys on gun channels talk about it. Somebody over there is going to sell him a Lee Classic press, single stage, because he doesn't want this guy to be overly invested in something he may or may not be good at. So he sends him home. He's got the scale. He's got the book. He went and picked up a Lyman reloading book. He picked up, the die set for the caliber he wants to load. Let's just say 45 Colt, just for ease of continuity. And he goes home. And he starts loading his bullets. If he doesn't know what bullets to use or what to mic or anything, just to get your feet wet, while you're in Bass Pro Shops, just go ahead and pick up a box of, say, 100 Hornady XTP bullets. Sure, you're going to pay like $28 to $30 for it, but they're full metal jackets or they're jacketed hollow points, but they're mic'd to the exact most common measurement for most usable bullets. So that way you don't have to worry about casting or swaging or anything. Just get your feet wet. Get a factory-made loaded, bullet, factory jacketed bullet. Load that until you're comfortable, and then start experimenting with lead cast, powder coated, things like that.
Or you could even go and, like if you buy Hornady stuff, they usually will give you 500 rounds of bullets.
Yeah, they do that promotion. I remember that last year.
Yep, quite a bit.
Yep.
I
think the biggest one I've seen was they gave you 1,000.
I've seen 500 whenever you buy a I think it was even a die set. So you spend $30 or $40 on a die set, and you'll get $30 or $40 worth of bullets.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So.
Okay, for those that don't know, but could you go over what swaging and all that other stuff is?
Swaging is just a fancy word for squeezing the bullet
You're
into
resizing the
make it
diameter.
the correct size for your bore diameter. So if you have a 357 Magnum, typically the bullets are .358, slightly larger, so they really bite into the lands and grooves of your rifling.
Yep.
But
and a 9mm is .355. And you usually use a .356 bullet.
See, I sort of shortchanged myself because my 454 Casull is technically it can go up to .458, but I still run a .452 bullet or a .451 bullet through it, and I still make inch groups at like 30 yards in a 2.5-inch barrel 454 Casull. So I'm okay with that because, when I use that pistol, I'm usually out in bear country anyway, so I'm not going to shoot the damn thing at 100 yards.
Yeah, so basically what swaging your barrel is you take a bullet, usually, something that's a little oversized. You don't want it too oversized because that's a lot of pressure, and you won't be able to get it through your barrel. But basically, you take a brass rod or a wooden dowel or something, and you beat this round through your barrel. So you know how big your barrel is at its smallest diameter. And then you'll know what size your barrel is so you can start getting your projectiles at that size, or 1/1000th over so it'll grab rifling and be the most accurate.
Right, and that's called slugging your barrel.
Yes, slugging your
Run
barrel.
it through, hammer it in there, let it feed through all the lands and grooves, and then measure it once you get it out the other side.
Yep, like whenever I slugged my 2 Mosins, I used a 32 caliber bullet, and one of my Mosins comes out at 312, the other one comes out at 313.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Consistency-wise, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I was very surprised. So I shoot a 313 bullet down.
I've seen some wore-out finished ones that are like 319. Yeah. That's just crazy.
This is a 1950 or 1945 M44 and a 56 Type 53. So
we're boring, Flippy.
And well,
sorry,
Flippy. We don't all shoot 9.
I'm gonna jump in and go and tell people what this is, just so that we can get it out of the way and people know. Casting is actually casting lead bullets. You know,
if you live in Detroit, you just
forming them
open up
from
your taps.
liquid metal, which you don't want to do unless you've done it before. I've watched it be done before. I don't want to do it personally.
After my first 1,000, I bought my first 1,045 projectiles, and I was like, okay, how can I make this cheaper? And then that's when I started reloading, casting. So I jumped in pretty quick. Casting doesn't take that much money to get into. $200. It's messy. You got to have well-ventilated area.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
When you cast lead, you're melting lead in a pot and then pouring it into casts. You need to have a painter mask respirator on, well-ventilated area, because you're basically melting and steaming lead. So it can be a real health hazard. I mean,
you don't have to have a ventilator on.
As long as you have really good fans.
A paint mask is not going to do anything. If you're going to have a ventilator, you need to have like a good one, and most of them are. Most of those are for lead dust when like you're like grinding the lead or something like that, or cutting it. But the lead doesn't actually evaporate. But you still don't like. I mean, there's still byproducts of it coming off, and so I mean, as long as you have good ventilation and you're not like literally holding your head over the pot, you know. Okay.
Well, see, I don't have a garage.
Can I interject something?
Yes,
please,
absolutely.
Please do so.
Okay, so the question of lead and the dangers involved with that come up sometimes with reloading, but I've looked into it, and the only time that lead is an issue is with tumbling. So if you run your tumbler, do it out in a garage or a shed. Don't do it in your house, because that's the only area. Yeah,
yes,
with the dry meat. So that would be a safety issue of doing that, where there's not going to be small kids or you having a picnic right there or anything like that. Do it out of the way in your garage. But everything else is pretty safe on lead contamination.
I would suggest this, that you don't get into doing lead till after you're an accomplished reloader.
Yeah, I would agree.
Or at least the first year.
Let me throw something out here. Would you say it would be better if someone has an area outside to go and do it outside as opposed to doing it in an enclosed space?
Yes.
Casting?
Yes, casting, absolutely.
Garage with an open door at the least.
At the least.
Yeah, but what I have a wooden box that I made, and one side is sitting right next to a window. Every time I flip my pot on, I open that window and I have a high-velocity fan pointed out.
It just draws all the vent out.
It draws everything out. Yep. And I have another fan right here blowing towards me. Okay. Because you're looking at 650 to 700 degree temperatures right in front of you.
It gets hot as hell.
It does get warm. So I have all this air going that way. Plus, there's something called fluxing your lead. You use wax. basically what it does, it helps get contaminants to the top where you scrape them off, so your bullets are more consistent.
So basically you're getting rid of the slack, right?
Yes.
Well, if you want to do it the cheap and dirty way, you can always go to your local Home Depot and just ask them for their surplus sawdust when they cut boards and things, and they'll give you bags and bags of it. And you just grab a handful and dump it in there. It'll burn, and once it all chars off, you just scrape it off the top, and it takes all the impurities out.
Yeah. What wax does it? I use beeswax, and I mix it in and stir it up, and what that does is all the impurities. It's basically a flux. It attracts to that wax or sawdust, and then that comes to the top. But my way produces a lot of smoke, and whenever I first started, I didn't have that fan there. And one time I turned around, my entire garage, like I couldn't see the other side of the garage because there was that much smoldering wax that I ran through. And I was like, this is not good for my lungs. So yeah, definitely research casting, and I wouldn't do it right away. I jumped in pretty quick. Going back, I'd probably wait, like what Nathan said, wait a year to do it. Buy your projectiles first. See how much. See if it's even worth it. See, if you shoot 1,000 rounds a year, I probably wouldn't do it. Even if you're shooting 5,000 rounds a year, maybe you're getting close to where it's worth it, but maybe not, because it does take a lot of time. You also have to think about that.
Prep time, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, if you can sit down and cast, if you have an 8-cavity mold, 1,000 rounds doesn't take very long to make once you start the prep. So if you shoot 1,000 rounds in a year, it's probably not worth it. But if you shoot 1,000 rounds, say, every 2 weeks, then definitely do it.
Yeah, but it's also, like, for me, buying versus making my own, I can make my own for about 2.5 cents cheaper.
Oh, yeah, totally. And then Roto Metals comes up with the tin and antimony hardcast bars. So if you have to balance out the hardness, see, we're getting into advanced reloading here, which might be a bit too much for this.
Agreed.
But you have to start thinking about something called Brinell hardness, because once you get to a certain velocity, if your lead's too soft or if it's too pure, it's just going to smear all down the rifling.
Well, we've got a lot of good information going in here, so any information is great. But remember, let's try and keep it, for the beginner and intermediate.
Let's keep it to buying your bullets.
Yeah, let's keep and we could have a reloading chat on smelting.
That's a whole hour in itself, for sure.
I mean, but I do like the chat we're having. We do have a lot of good information here. Granted, I also have a Lineman's Reloading Handbook, so...
Yeah, look, Lineman Reloading Handbook, there's good and bad things about that.
Yeah, well...
The reason I had a Lee, and Lee has absolute ton of powders, ton of weights. Lineman is really good for knowledge, but it has less powders, less bullets, and the powders that I load with aren't in the Lineman.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a bit of a surprise. Because usually they put the top 8 most common ones, and then they highlight the most accurate. But I see what you're saying too, because finding powder in general, even in my city, it's not easy.
Yeah. Well, whenever I buy powder, I bought powder, and I bought 12 pounds of pistol powder, and I'm going to be using 4 grains per case. And there's 7,000 grains in a powder, so that's enough for 22,000 rounds.
Yeah, it's going to last.
Okay.
Well,
it lasts.
A good place of knowledge is Ogden and Alliant. They all have powder breakdowns online, and that's the beauty of it, because my books I use are Hornady, and I can't, your powder versus what's in the book is different sometimes, and I just end up just automatically going to the websites and looking.
Absolutely.
I don't even look in the books anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good reference. Let's say you're at a store and you're not quite sure. what you want, but you see a reloading manual there and you have your phone. I would actually go to the reloading manual, especially if it's a Lee, because it has a great variety of powders. Because basically what Lee did is it went out there, went to your Reading book, went to your Lyman's, went to your RCBS books, and compiled all that data into one book for reloading. So, and then they take some and they move their pressures down some. So their starting weights and top weights are neutered a little bit. So basically, if you go out and grab that book, if it's there, flip through it, find what projectile you're going to be, or what cartridge you're going to be shooting, find what projectiles you're going to be buying that day, and then start looking. Okay, here's a powder. Here's a ram shot competition. Well, here's ram shot competition, 115 grain. Okay, I have a loading in my book for it. Then you go back. Okay, I could buy that, or I could buy this CFE or whatever powders are there. You know that you have a powder that will work for that projectile. Then when you go home and start doing a little bit more research, you can then go to their website, since you've narrowed down your search from this big to one website.
Okay, ballistic expansion. Is there anything you'd like to pop in here and say about reloading? Any tips or anything you'd like to say?
Don't blow yourself up.
Yeah, never start with the max loading.
We should talk to a good guy with a gun about reloading.
And his 45.
Yeah, barrel bulge.
Hey,
Hashtag barrel bulge.
right here.
All I gotta say to that is he's still alive and still reloading and still shooting.
You can't really say that. I mean, but
there's a split
that's,
there.
For all we know.
Yeah, that destroyed the case, as you can see. I'm trying to get it to zoom in here.
And we'll also take one from Such's book and not fire our guns over the hood of our trucks.
Not unless you can't compensate the curve of your hood above your barrel.
My dad did the same thing, but not on purpose.
There you go.
Shooting a.
That looked good.
Wow.
That was clear. Yeah, that's a nice split.
I'm sorry. It was
Oh my
faced
gosh.
like this.
Wait.
It was faced like that.
How
It
did
blew
that
out from the
happen?
bottom.
Yeah, it blew out the bottom because look at where
Did
they
you shoot that from a
extractor
Glock?
is.
Did you do
No.
that, Bruce?
This was in my 1911.
Oh.
You double charged it?
Ooh.
I 10 grains of Winchester 231.
Nice. That's like double major power factor.
Yeah. It cleared the barrel, and it locked the barrel up.
Figure so light.
It made it go faster, right?
Yes.
Screaming.
It bent the follower, warped the spring, and blew out both wooden grits.
Do it down the primer pocket again, because
Were you able to rebuild it, or was it toast?
Yeah. That is not a normal size flash hole.
No, it's not. That flash hole is probably twice the size of what it should be.
That looks like Hillary's flash hole.
You can see over here the extractor.
Oh,
That
that's
is-
not near big enough.
Hey, this is too big. Shut up. But yeah, that's. And what happened with this is I was on my turret press, and I did not look down the case, and I double charged it.
Oh,
That's one thing. Look down every freaking case before you put powder into it. Before you put the bullet in it. Even on progressive presses.
Just hit
I
your
still
hit
do.
your
Well,
loading
the-
block with a flashlight and just make sure they all look the same.
That goes to my next thing about having proper lighting when you're reloading.
Yes. I mean, that is good to have proper lighting. I have a skylight on my Dylan Pest, like my favorite upgrades. But I will say that it's not necessary on certain
I have one
presses
sitting right
to
over
look in
there.
every case. Like, I think
What?
that certain presses have gotten so advanced, and that if you're looking in every case, it's not because you want to for your own peace of mind. I don't think it's because you shouldn't trust the machinery. Especially if you're a powder check
when
guy,
you-
you don't have to worry about it at all.
When you start out, double, triple check your powder.
Oh yeah, like reloading on single stage, I always check every single one.
Now you need a flashlight in about 2 seconds just to look over everything.
Now with rifles, usually a double charge you'll have powder coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
9
when I
millimeters,
reload,
you usually have it's not. It won't come out on 9 millimeters, but it'll be really close to the top. In a 45, since it's such a big round, you could probably triple charge this and not even realize it.
38s and 357s are the same way. There is a
Same way.
lot of open space in those.
Okay, we got. I want to go over some of the rifle stuff, but right now I want to stop and do a patch giveaway. Is that right? I'm doing an April patch giveaway, so
Make sure you ask for it when you win.
when you win, make sure you ask for the April patch.
Do a trivia.
AR Pro.
It's April.
It's
My birth
April.
month.
AR Pro just sounds dirty.
Let's not taint my birth month with things that don't rhyme.
All right, so I'm just gonna choose someone out there that hasn't gotten one yet, because I am keeping a list of who gets the patches so that we don't give them out twice to anyone, because we want everyone to get one. You know, and I'm not trying to be socialist. I'm just trying to get the April goodness.
Okay,
to
Bernie.
everyone.
Okay, Bernie.
Yeah, screw you guys. But I'll just pick someone out there in the gun channels.
Check the internal before you say it. I recognize everybody else.
Yeah, I recognize everyone else. No, you know what? I don't think Smith & Wesson has gotten one in a while. So,
Well,
Because they overcharge us for their epic revolvers,
no,
which I own so many of.
the user Smith & Wesson. You know what, man? You get the patch tonight. So
Congratulations!
go to
Yay.
gunchannels.com/DPG. Sign up for the information. Sign up and give us your information so we can send you that patch.
Also, one thing before we go to rifles with pistols, Sean spoke about it, and we kind of glazed over it, is belling your case.
Oh, yes.
Basically, what it is, I'll use this case. What it is you take your rim and you kind of like bell it out so your projectile will sit on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you go to press it, it'll press in there, and then you kind of close your case around it. That's something, especially if you use lead or powder-coated projectiles, you need to do that, or also scrape that coating off, and it won't be accurate. Crinkle your case, yeah. It could do a lot of nasty stuff to your cases.
You know, I'm pretty guilty of this. I don't bell 38 or 357, but I bell 45 ACP. But what's that?
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying I just don't do it. I've never seen a need to do it, and I don't see a difference in accuracy. So.
Well, I mean, if you can get them to actually fit, you know, on just a resized and unbelled case, that's pretty awesome. It's just, I usually just curl just the outer, just barely where it sits on it.
Well, see, on my press, I use a bullet feeder, so I have to bell mine pretty gnarly.
Mm-hmm.
That's just single stage.
Yeah.
Now, do you use a jacketed bullet?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
That helps a lot.
The
jacket's got that little ledge on the bottom end.
Okay.
The reason I wanted to say that, going to rifle,
boat tails.
Rifle, yeah, boat tails. You don't have to do that. Even if you have a flat bottom, there's still a bell.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you do cast stuff in a rifle cartridge, you still have to bell ever so slightly to get it started.
Mm-hmm.
And like I bought some, whenever I got my press, I got some 223 prime cases that came from a manufacturer, and they actually belled their case as well. Some will, most people don't, because they run a full metal jacket.
Yeah, and a lot of times when they tell you when you're reloading rifle cases, it's for the greatest common factor of reloaders of those are going to use like boat tail jacketed bullets, so they don't have to worry about it. But if you're using flat bottom cast bullets, you have to sort of make a little bit of a concession for it because it won't start. You might chip the end off just trying to get it to fit in there.
Yep.
The best die for that is the Lyman M die. pretty much they have 2 bodies, so you buy one body for long cases, one body for short cases, and after that, all you gotta do is buy different plugs for inserts for different types of cases, and you can do all that.
Awesome.
Yep. It's called the Lyman M dialect, letter M.
I wanted to ask the panel, who here reloads with blindfolds on in the dark just for the challenge?
I reload 500 magnums in the dark, but not blindfolded. Because once you get everything set up the way you need it, it all kind of just does what it has to do anyway.
Yeah.
All by touch.
That and I use Rainier
that.
full metal jackets for my 500.
Something about reloading. Don't use a pistol powder in a rifle, and don't use a rifle powder in a pistol.
Oh, wait. You can get away with unique in so many ways.
Hold on.
It's different.
I know that he wants to switch topics real quick, but I wanted to speak to picking the correct rifle powder for what you're loading. Okay, real quick story. When I first started reloading, I was reloading 7 mags, and with the 7 mags, I looked at all the books and the charts, and this stuff called Rotumbo, which is made for African big game hunting, made the bullet go the fastest, right? Well, I loaded with Rotumbo for 3 months, never could get the group to tighten up, and it turns out putting Rotumbo in this bullet is like sticking a Corvette engine in a Pinto. It's just ridiculous wrong.
You had to like really trim back the recipe for that then.
Yeah. So it's a bad idea. So what?
That's like working with tight group. You know, they say right on the bottle, a little bit goes a long way. They mean it.
Yes.
Well, the point is this:
clays.
You go down and you look at a book and it tells you 10 different powders. Okay, one option is to go with whatever powder at the bottom of the page says the asterisk is the best powder results.
Most accurate for that load. Yeah.
That one. Another way to do it is to simply Google the round and bullet weight, like 168 grain 308 load recipes, and just look through what people use. And that's a good way to determine what powder is right for what weight and bullet casing. Because what you got here is you got a heavy chunk of metal, and you got a certain amount of capacity behind it, and certain powders work better with the weight and capacity restrictions. It's basically a hot gas that expands down a length of barrel. So, again, Google recipes that people use, and or go with the factory default on your reloading page is my opinion.
And there are forums all over for that.
And there is not one perfect rifle powder for everything. They're all meant to use at different cartridges. Like I use Ramtac. It's made more for a 223, but it works in a short action like a 308, 22-250. I have some loadings for 8mm. It's not the best for 8mm, but I'm not going to try to get pinpoint accuracy at 8mm. Just like I'm not trying to get pinpoint accuracy at 223. So if you start loading for a bunch of different rifle cartridges, look and start off with a powder that can load all of them. Because if you have 5 different cartridges and you have 5 different powders,
I disagree.
Totally. And that's fine. Your way of you want sub MOA accuracy, right, out of yours, since you're a hunter, especially long range hunting.
Well,
correct.
Okay. So you have to shoot a certain number of rounds to figure out what the cartridge is doing. It's $30 for a pound of the powder. Use the best pound per each one. You're going to go through it. You're not going to waste anything.
That's true.
See, where I started I started with IMR 4227 for my 44 Magnum, which you can use in smaller calibers, you can use it in larger calibers. The only thing that stopped me from using 4227 was it was what you would call an uneconomical powder. The powder loadings for that powder are much higher than, say, unique. For instance, if I loaded 44 Magnum, I'd have to load 24 grains of 4227. Whereas if I used unique, I only had to use 7 grains. So if I bought that pound for $30, that pound's going to go a lot farther with a pound of unique than 4227.
Mm-hmm.
But 4227 is a great powder. It's just it's uneconomical.
Does it burn
I'll
that
agree with
slow?
It's a really slow burning powder.
Okay.
I will agree with Foos. If you're loading pistol powders and can find something like Universal or something like that that'll work with all of them, great. But when it comes down to rifle powders, I think you should be going one.
With your sorry.
Cartridge.
Yeah, but with your pistol powders, there is pistol powder, and then you get to the faster side of pistol powder, and it actually becomes a shotgun powder. Like clays, a lot of people use clays. It's actually a shotgun powder. It burns extremely fast.
Mm-hmm.
That means you don't have a spike in pressure. You just got to make sure that if it says your max is 3.4 grains, you may not want to put 3.5 in it.
Right.
I mean, clays, it's such a fast burning powder.
See, that's why I love Unique, because it is so all-encompassing. It was originally designed as a shotgun powder, but it works in so many pistol and rifle calibers. And it's very economical.
And that's the danger with fast powders too, is that like especially with handguns, like that's what the really good powders fight competition, because the faster the powder, the faster the slide cycles, the less time you're waiting on the gun to return a battery. So it'll shoot soft, and sometimes the powders are so fast that they don't have time to get their maximum effect, so you'll keep trying to put more and more to get for us, we have to get a certain velocity to be legal, right? So you'll get to a certain point where you start putting so much powder that it'll the powder the pressure increases exponentially, and all of a sudden you'll have a huge increase, and all that powder will burn, and it will it can be bad.
Okay.
So that's why you don't shoot fast.
Since we're starting to talk about powder, can we talk about pressure signs in a case?
Oh yeah, we should.
The very first. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Nathan.
I was going to say that we're going to talk about pressure signs just real quick. Basically, for everyone watching this video, there are powders that they burn, and in a very short length, let's say, with a pistol, will reach their full maximum power down the tube. It's expanding gases. So you got two things working here. You got one where it's got to be able to get the initial shove of the heavy weight of the bullet going, and then expand and push it down the barrel, increasing the velocity. Now, take a rifle. Instead of a 5-inch barrel, you have a 26-inch barrel. So a really big, heavy rifle bullet, you're going to have a slow burning powder, a slower pressure build from the initial explosion that goes there. So all these powders are about how fast their power releases, and that's why it's all so kind of random, and you should look at what other people have used in the past. Yeah. Now, Foos, go ahead about pressure signs.
Okay. Pressure signs, the very first pressure sign you should look for is your primer starting to flattening out. Basically what that means is whenever your firing pin hits the back of your primer, you want to have a pretty damn good indent in it. If that starts backing out and becoming flatter, that's meaning that you're getting a spike in pressures, because that
flow.
Yes.
What's happening is when the firing pin hits the primer, there's so much pressure, that back pressure, that the pressure from the round going off is pushing the primer back around your firing pin.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, let's explain what it happens. Is that pressure spike goes back through the flash hole around your firing pin and literally flattens out the dimple it put in the center of your primer. But sometimes, depending on what gun you have, that pin stays in place after you fire. So the other pressure sign that you might want to look for is where it kind of balloons around the dimple.
And a third one that coming with the powder, with the primer, is on your primer. Let's see, on your primer here, it's actually a little bit below your case head. It'll actually flatten out against the case head, and you can see the primer is kind of rounded a little bit. I'm trying to get good light. It's not getting good light, but you can just pick up. You can just pick up any. It's not doing it, but pick up any round, and you can see the very edge of the primer. It's not a 90-degree angle. going into your case. It's rounded edges. That will actually push back and become flat. All that is pressure signs.
Well, to be fair, Winchester primers tend to be rather flat, even before and after. But yeah, CCIs and stuff, they're domed, very domed. You'll be able to see it with your naked eye before, even after you shoot it. It should stay domed with a dimple in it.
Yep. Now, I'm going to show you, using this case that I blew up, many pressure signs. Number one, the case blowing up. But on the case head, right here where my middle finger is, it was in zoom. Damn camera.
You're going to show where the extractor left a huge dent in it.
Yes. It started there. Yeah. And
Now,
actually,
to be fair, is it AKs or I think it's AKs. AKs are really hard on brass, right? So that might not be a very, very good telltale because those extractors are really hard on brass anyway.
You can see it there at the top of the
it's
case.
smashed in there.
Yes. So that basically all the metal, there's so much pressure coming backwards that it basically went into where the ejector was.
It conformed to the shape of the chamber and the ejector.
Have we moved on to rifles yet?
That's what we're talking about now.
We're talking about
pressure signs on cases.
Yeah,
right.
and I'm just using this as a reference because I had it handy here.
Okay.
Now, the only caveat to what he's describing is AK rounds, 7.62 or 7.62 39, they have very violent ejections, so you might see dents like that, and it might not be a telltale. But all the other telltales we've been talking about, the primers themselves, the bulging of the casing, things like that, those are still other telltales you have to keep an eye on.
I have also heard horror stories of which, it's not just, the 7.62 by 39, but even, some of that Wolf 308, that sometimes, the brass stuff, not the steel stuff, that the cases have been, the back end of the cases have been blown off.
Case head separation.
Yeah.
Yeah, case head separation.
That's less of a powder issue and more of a quality control issue in the brass, in my opinion.
It is pretty rare. It is pretty rare.
Let me put it this way. So I shoot 375 H&H Magnums, which is it's a round made right around 1907 or something. But anyway, the funny thing about these is that they crack back here at the case, and I've had them where I've had case separation after shooting them 5 or 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to my gunsmith, who also has shot these a lot, and he goes, "Oh yeah, you just got to buy cases. They wear out. They
do. They indeed do.
Crap design is basically what it is."
Yep. My 454 split on the opposite end, but they will do it eventually.
Yep. They will
split.
But it's not.
So do you guys anneal your?
Well, let Nathan finish.
I'm just sorry. It's not dangerous when you're reloading cases and you have issues. It's the primers. Let me ask this to the panel: if you're shooting a bolt-action rifle and you're having trouble pulling the bolt back and extracting the cases, that's a big pressure sign, right?
That's a chamber issue too, because that means the brass was actually able to expand beyond the original chamber pressure. There might have been like a groove or a bulge worn into your chamber that allowed it to expand that far where the extractor can't do its job.
But you'll also see that, most likely see and or feel that in your brass. But if it's just a general, that means that you're having to work extra hard, and that case, because brass flows whenever a round goes off to seal the chamber. So you put a lot of pressure into that case, and that case opens up. It's also supposed to shrink a little bit. But if you put too much pressure, it'll go and it won't rebound, and it'll stick out there, and you have to pull like a son of a bitch to get it out.
Yeah, so a normal case will expand and fill the chamber completely, and then it'll come back and it'll extract cleanly. If it expands and locks, that means there's way too much pressure. You're way over your PSI.
Right, but you have to ask yourself, is that a product of the loading, or is that a product of just natural wear and tear on a gun? Because some guns are just, they've lived a whole life of hot loads, and that chamber starts to bulge out a bit.
And you usually can feel that.
Of deformity in the chamber. Hold on, it's a combination of the deformity in the chamber. You're maybe pushing your bullet too far back into the case for the load, or you're putting too much powder in for that particular load and increasing the PSI too much.
Sure. I mean, if we're talking about your 375, that's extreme. But yeah, for something like a 308 or a 30-06, that's all, telltale signs of either a wore-out gun, overcharging, or maybe just too deep a seating and you're causing ridiculous pressure spikes.
So do you guys
advanced, though?
do you guys anneal your brass at all ever?
Nope.
I do not.
Nope.
I just wait till it splits and then toss it.
Yeah.
Are y'all
For expensive rifle brass, it is a very good process to use, but most of us, I don't think, shoot.
Well, 99% of my reloaders are pistol, straight wall
Yeah, same
pistol,
here. That's
so I
what
don't
I'm
have to
saying.
worry about it. But
Yeah, you shoot straight
when
wall
it comes
case
to like
30 times probably.
7.5 Swiss on average, since Foos has a K31, if you get the PPU, for instance, 7.5 Swiss, where it's got the boxer primers so you can reload them, a good idea is to probably anneal them every third reloading, but they tend to last a long time. I know a guy who's using 7.5 brass that's over 45 years old. He's probably reloaded each casing at least 300 or 400 times. And all he does is he just anneals it every third reloading.
Yeah, exactly.
And what annealing does is whenever you fire, you work harden your neck and your shoulder. So basically what it does is it softens that brass up so it flows a little bit better. But basically,
massaging it with fire.
Yes, because when you work hard, instead of all the molecules being in the same direction, they start doing this.
Because they're trying to crystallize.
Right. And then annealing relaxes them and puts them back straight to where they like each other again.
Hey, Foos, can you explain the difference between full-length resizing and neck sizing on rifle?
Okay. Whenever you fire a gun, it fire forms into your chamber. Neck sizing is just that. You size this part of your case, and that's it. Because the rest of it fire formed to your chamber. That is basically supreme accuracy, and that's whenever you know that round is going to go back in that gun. If you have, let's say you're using 308 and you have a Remington 700 and an AR-10 style, and you're going to take and use that in the same, or that round in the same gun. I mean, in both guns, you want to size everything. It'll bump the shoulder back and it'll come all the way down here to the base and make sure everything is within specs, because your Remington 700 may have a looser chamber than that AR-10 or vice versa. And if you shoot it in your AR-10, you're extracting that, and if you just neck size it up here, it may not fit in your Remington 700.
Okay, here's a question. Do you have an annealed round that you could show us, what it looks like and what the annealing would be?
I don't have one that I have.
Got an
but
M855 sitting around?
I have one upstairs, but usually from about here up, it'll be a different color.
Pink-ish.
Yeah, Winchester white box.
Has color variations in
I mean, if anyone's got an M855 sitting around, just grab one and put it in front of your camera. It's pretty much, it'll be a dead giveaway.
Yeah, as I said, I have one upstairs, and I probably have to go dig
I think Nathan's ducking for one.
I've got a bunch of M193 lying around that are annealed.
Well,
show it off.
The problem is I don't want to turn my camera on. That's why.
Because you don't want to give the state your fingerprints. Just show them the brass.
Stop telling people that.
So yeah, that's basically what it is. You anneal down to right
to the
about
neck
here.
and shoulder more than likely.
You don't want to kneel down here because you will have case separation. This part down here, you want this part hard to take all that pressure. The softer that your case is, the less pressure it can take. So that's why they do this part, because this part is what really flexes and creates your gas seal, especially up here. Right here is usually where your gas seal happens.
Yeah, and the necked part has to deal with the most fire forming anyway. Usually the straight wall parts are going to be fine because they're already really close up against the chamber already.
Yeah. And if you do a full size full case size, you'll actually take and bump that shoulder back. So let's say this was fired and I'm going to resize it.
It's going to start to stretch.
Right, but this ridge is sitting right here. Let's say I'm going to do this pretty dramatically, but let's say I full case size it. The neck won't start here. Maybe the neck starts back here.
That's a bit extreme, but yeah,
right.
It's a good illustration, though.
Great, yeah. And then also, your neck stops here. Well, it could stop here.
Right.
It's
brass will stretch, especially with rifle rounds.
That's why you also have to trim them, because it flows that way. Because your head space off your shoulder and not off the end of the cartridge. If it's off the end of the cartridge, like a straight-walled cartridge, that's why it has no place to flow. That's why you really don't have to trim straight-wall cartridges.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to point that out. Straight-wall cartridges, revolver rounds, you almost never have to trim them. I mean, not unless they're extreme. I mean, I've got 44 brass rounds that are over 30 years old. Never trimmed them. Well, and they were given to me by people twice my age. They were like, here you go.
44 also, that head space is off the rim.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So as long as your case doesn't go outside your cylinder,
exceeding the cylinder, we're perfectly fine.
Well, whereas a 9mm, I have one right here, it head spaces
right
here at the edge. So you sometimes you will have to trim them down, not often.
To be fair, though, 9mm reloaders, they're usually like competition shooters, people who shoot thousands of rounds. Like, I can't justify the cost of reloading 9. I just buy it because I've got freedom munitions literally half an hour away. But if you're going to reload 9mm, yeah, you probably do have to trim them after maybe the second or third reloading.
Actually, I've never trimmed 9mm.
Really?
Never. No.
So you're good to go.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
This is a different question. I just ran out into the garage to grab us to show an annealed round of the 55 grain 223 ammo or 5.56 military ammo, and my rounds that have been in this vest for a year or two hanging in the garage, they're discolored and rough.
What do you mean by rough?
They've been exposed to the moisture too long.
So they've all tarnished?
They're tarnished, yeah. So here's
tarnished a different color, though?
They're tarnished.
You're breaking
much darker color, yeah.
You're roboting.
Sorry, they're tarnished to.
The struggle is real.
The struggle is real, man. You're roboting. Turn your
the crowdsource nation more internets.
Tell your kids to stop playing Xbox.
No, tell them to get to work in a sweatshop.
So are you saying your annealed round, did it tarnish in different shades, though?
Yeah.
This is bad.
Yeah. It's bad.
Do you got one on you, Nathan? You can show us?
Yeah, just put it in front of the camera. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I have some rounds here that are...
He was like, screw you guys, and he just walked off.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
I'm going to go pull the plug on the Xbox in the living room.
Yeah, okay. Basically what he's doing, brass will oxidize. So, you'll go to the range, you look down, and you're like, oh, that's a steel case. You get to looking at it, and it's an oxidized brass case. The
that is
tin
one
will oxidize.
dirty-ass brass case.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is that you could actually clean them up and keep shooting them.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, I wet tumble all my brass, and it looks like brand new every time.
I love wet tumbling.
Okay, there's wet tumbling, and then there's also fill tumbling.
All right, so there's two different kinds of tumbling. You can get a vibrating dry tumbler, which usually uses like powderized corn cobs or walnut shells and things. That was the original way to do it. It's a little bit dusty, and there's arguments
It's
that
cheaper.
it is, well, depends. It's slightly cheaper in the initial cost, but the reusability factor, wet tumbling, is superior. Like, for instance, I went down to my local freaking Harbor Freight, and I bought a 2-drum Jewel tumbler. I can put 200 rounds of brass in these two little cases, and I get 2 1-pound bags of stainless steel needle media, which is 100% reusable. And you just fill it with hot water, put a couple of drops of Dawn dish soap in there and a couple of squirts of lemon juice, seal it up, throw it in there for 3 hours, and you've got brand new looking brass. Everything is reusable.
I just want to mention something.
And there's no dust, and you
If
can
you're-
flush all the juice down the toilet or down your sink.
If you're going to use fill, if you're, I've read up on this because I've looked at doing it myself because I have a lot of dirty brass and brass that needs to be cleaned. But what you can do is you can get one of those cement mixers from Harbor Freight and fill that with regular, cob fill.
Yep.
And that'll do the same thing.
It will. You have to worry about dust.
Nathan,
Cap the end.
unmute and say something so it takes up the whole screen. He's got the brass cartridge out, but a little preview screen.
Sorry.
There you go.
So this is the top round in my magazine. That I've just had magazines loaded and in a vest. They've been there like 2-3 years, and so it's
shootable.
But it's all tarnished and rough. But when I dug through after I got past the first 2 or 3 rounds, they're all nice and new because they weren't exposed to the air or anything.
Right.
So I guess that's a lesson to me.
Oxidation.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's still shootable. Run it. Next time you go to the range, shoot it.
Here's a question. So should I just burn through this, or
yeah,
it'll do just fine.
Yeah, like even for people who have carry ammo, cycle through it at least once a year.
Oh well, man.
Shoot it.
Just go shoot it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Like I even cycle through my carry ammo at least once a year. I'll take it out there because it starts to tarnish, and you're like, well,
mine starts looking bad after just a few times of like if I show somebody my gun or something, then I pop my oil magazine, I clear the round out of the chamber, and then hand it to them, let them look at it, and then when I go back, I put the magazine in, put that round, the top round goes into the chamber, and then I pop the mag and put that one that I popped out of the chamber to begin with into the magazine. You do that 2 or 3 times, those 2 rounds are going to look like crap.
Yeah, they get really
just from handling those 2 rounds. They're just going to look like crap.
Not only look like crap, but you do that enough, you'll start having bullets set back.
Oh, they get shot before then. I mean, I'll cycle through at least those 2, if not the whole magazine, every few months.
What's really funny though is already loaded rounds in my magazines, they will tarnish. They'll change color, right? But, like, for instance, I'm about to pull out my Rainier 500 Magnum bullets, the ones I haven't even loaded yet. The ones in the box still look brand new, but they're still exposed to the same amount of air as the ones in their magazine.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
All right. I think I want to call it here.
I got so much more to say.
I know we have so much more to say, but this may be a factor that we may just start having to restart the reloading chats and maybe do it once every 2 weeks. What do you think about that?
We do. We definitely do, especially since shooting season's coming up. We need to get into it. We could go.
Every season is shooting season.
I know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But
I may have done this as a segue just so we could restart the reloading chats and the reloading podcast. So,
one of these days, let me know when. I'll go out and when we're talking about casting, I'll go out there and I'll probably start casting these 185 grains.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, like show us a video or something.
No, I'll actually be doing it live.
I will excite the group by doing a 500 Magnum reloading video when my new GoPro comes in tomorrow.
Let's do this, okay? Why don't we talk about some subjects like maybe we want to talk about when we start doing the reloading chats on the podcast, whether we want to do just go on one topic that's part of reloading, or if we want to do several topics at the same time. Because if you do several topics, we're gonna be here all night.
Right.
But if we stick with one topic, pertaining to reloading, then we can go do different shows.
There is one thing I'm going to be doing. I accidentally ordered 5,000 Magnum primers instead of regular primers for pistol. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to take some rounds, same loading, same projectile,
different primer,
regular CCI primers, small rifle primers, and small Magnum primers. That's going to be the only difference. Shooting them over the chrono and seeing what the pressure spikes are. Difference.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And see if that really makes a difference.
I gotta tell you, man, my 38 special and my 357 loadings, and I use Magnum primers for everything.
Yeah, I have some 38 specials that whenever I loaded them, I didn't have Magnum, so I used regular. Yeah. And the unique is not all the way burning. And the powder I have right now, the Silhouette, after about 300-400 rounds, I'll have unburnt powder in my action. It's not going to hurt the gun, but it looks like sand.
It's like it looks like a waste, right?
Yeah. Right.
Even Magnum primers, I get that every once in a while, though.
So I'm going to be doing comparison. I'll actually have those primers tomorrow. So in the next week or two, I'll be doing that, and I'll have my phone out there, and I'll be recording all this.
Awesome. So. Might be something we want to go over.
Sure.
But I was kind of thinking about either in this show reloading, or maybe even the I Hate Guns.
Either way,
we're gonna have to have I Hate Reloading podcasts.
and I may be able to talk about it in all three.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to it. Anyone out there listening, we're going to restart or jumpstart, or we're going to bring it back to life, the Reloading podcast. So
you have an email address for the podcast, right?
Not yet.
Set up one and have people email us questions. That way we can do more specific answers.
Hey,
we can kind of flounder around a bit just with everything.
I'm going to have my web guy work on that.
Yeah, web guy, get an address.
All right, I'll work on it.
All right.
But I want to thank everyone for showing up. I'm not gonna thank all of you individually and whatnot. If you got something you want to plug, just say it right now.
All right, let me plug something real quick. Be here tomorrow for Never Enough Ammo's political civil war and post-Ohio primary or post-Wisconsin primary chat.
If I'm going to plug anyone, she has to be fucking hot.
Not what I was talking about at all.
Wait. It's been a while. She's good looking. I have to lower my bar there for a little bit.
Who's your governor over there in South Carolina?
Nikki Haley.
Yeah, we're going to set up Foos with Nikki Haley because we've already signed Carol off to Biker Bob, so... Carol from The Walking Dead belongs to Biker Bob.
Hold on. Doable, I'll take her. I just need to pick her up.
Oh, okay. You know what?
No.
I'm going to
I got.
All right, go for it,
bring
Sean.
up Andalusia Armory.
I just wanted to plug Shop Talk with Andalusia Armory on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Central Time. And give us a listen.
All right.
Anybody? Something?
Okay.
And you'll let me, underling. Okay, so.
Uh-oh.
Just introduced Inside the Waistband Rough Out holster. What this is a holster that is the rough side out, so the smooth side is in. Goes inside your waistband. This little piece hooks underneath your belt. You can take it on and off from a sitting position, and then this upper part has a chunk of metal underneath it that keeps the throat open so your belt can't shove in the top.
It looks good.
When are you going to float a couple samples to your web dude?
My web dude hasn't requested it till just now. Thank you, web dude. But
I still need to make a trip up his way to give him my 629 and my 500.
you can get this design here. I'm selling them right now on special for $60. I think the guy who makes these regularly charges $120. So anyway, it's awesome holster.
So you're going to give me a 5-finger discount. Sweet.
Yoink. Yoink.
Yes, I will.
I
That's so nice to you.
don't use leather holsters.
Okay, so
What you're
all you tactical people out there that only work in plastic, ignore what I said. But all you
Skin on skin is far better than crunchy plastic.
Yeah, for all you
Plastic has its purpose.
and finesse and beauty and design, let me know. But if you just like $30 pieces of molded plastic from China, it's all you.
And soon he'll
Hey,
be able to
Taiwan.
even cater to you ISIS guys. He'll be like, I made this out of goat. Take this goat.
Oh, Taiwan, China, who knows the difference?
Goat leather is a special order, thank you.
Take this goat.
Taiwan, China, they all
I
look
do
like Nathan's
want to
wife.
mention that Nathan also does stuff out of alligator as well. He does alligator leather too.
Doesn't do anything for China, sorry. We no see your cat here!
All right, on that note, we're going to end it. Everyone, thank you for listening.
Quick?
Go ahead, plug some.
I was just going to say, I'm going to be doing Friday night sites on Thursday again. This Thursday. Probably same time, 7 Pacific Standard. Don't quite have a topic yet. Probably going to be something stupid like AR versus AK deathmatch or something like that. I don't know. People seem to like the 1911 versus Glock deathmatch, so.
So you're switching from Friday to Thursday?
No, just this. Well, not just this time. This time again, but I got family things I got to do on Friday, so.
Okay. All right. Well,
Hold on, I got one more thing to plug for food.
You really want to kill us off, don't you?
don't make me get Lucille out.
Guy. All right.
Hashtag poor Daryl.
So,
All right.
We'll have to
Don't-
wait 6 months to figure out who you hit, though.
hey, you have to wait 187 days.
That's
Wait.
just how I roll.
Isn't 187 the police signal for
Yeah.
murder?
I think so. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's probably why they did it. All right. I am. Unless anyone has one last plug to do right now.
I got one.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that just to annoy you. I don't have nothing.
Ballistic. Do you have one?
All I gotta say is, wish me luck. I'll be shooting the South Carolina State match this
luck.
Good
weekend.
luck, buddy.
Okay.
Dude.
Where is that?
That match, I'm excited.
You own it.
Yeah, when is the salient arms pistol?
No.
And don't give it to Flippy. Just rub it in his face.
No, ballistic. When is that and where is it?
It is
South
this
Carolina.
it is this weekend, April the 8th, 9th, whatever this weekend is. I'll be shooting Saturday. It's in Charleston, South Carolina.
Go win Tori Nonaka. Do it.
It's
Where
in
are you
Charleston.
at? Where are you at?
I'm in Walterboro, just right outside of Charleston.
He's
You
like
need
20
to
minutes
drive
away,
there.
and he needs to come see me shoot, but he's being a pansy about it.
Well,
Well, you know,
it's too loud for him.
I don't want to get into that whole situation where we were on a live chat
Somebody sees his face and
and
knows who he is and tells the government.
yes,
Wait, I've seen his face.
Yeah.
All right, I don't have a plug, but I
messing
have
with you.
some breaking news before you sign off.
all right.
Bernie and Ted Cruz won Wisconsin. Deal with it.
That's retarded.
Yeah, I just saw that. I was going to bring it up
I just
later.
hope
But
Wait, how did that happen? I mean,
Check the polls.
The
I don't
last
want to bore
time-
you with it.
while we were on air a few hours ago, 2 hours ago or something,
That was before the
Dead
numbers
Horse
started
said
rolling
that
in.
whatever he was looking at
Yeah.
what that Trump was 10
All right,
points
let's hit the
up.
button if we're gonna
Well,
call
that's
everyone
because
chat
2
now.
hours ago, 0%
All right,
were checking
I'm killing
in.
it. We'll
All right,
see y'all tomorrow.
yeah,
Hold on,
Bye
hold on.
bye.
Hold on. I got one last
Shut up.
for Foos. Your mama.
Okay.
You guys like
Hey.
5-year-olds.
See you next week.
My mama